Good morning, good morning, good morning to our listeners from around the world. Hello, my name is Brian Wesley Johnson, and I am so glad you're here because I want to welcome you to another edition of This Morning with Soulivity. Today, I'm joined by some very special friends and co-hosts, Teresa Greco and Dr. Chanel de Guzman. Good morning, ladies.
Good morning,
Good
everyone.
morning, Brian.
Hey, that's a little slow now. Let's try. Good morning.
Good morning,
Good morning.
everyone.
There we go. There we go. Listen, um, see, this is how we do everybody. Before we begin, I want to make sure that everybody understands. Listen, we love hearing from you. We want you to comment. We want you to ask questions. We want you to be curious. Give us your thoughts about what we're talking about during every single broadcast. And today is no exception because we have such a wonderful guest with us. Today, I am pleased to talk with, and we're going to talk with noted author, speaker, and spiritual counselor, Kim Sanwood Terranova. She is a woman of passionate power who assists individuals with experiencing true inner greatness and unlimited authentic joy. For over 3 decades, she has immersed herself in the application and practice of universal spiritual truth and wisdom. Now, in her wonderful, wonderful book, you got to go out and get this book, The Technology of Intention, activating the power of the universe within you. She shares her personal story of discovering the power of intention and how it unlocks the fullness of ourselves, transforming our world in the process. You can truly live your best life. And so, with that, it is my pleasure to welcome to this morning my dear friend, Kim Sanwood Terranova. Hello, Kim.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. I'm so happy to be here with all of you.
Absolutely, absolutely. We were just talking offline about you were on Soulivity Live with me a couple of years ago. Um, and it was a very important show. We were talking about your book, but it was also a time at which is similar to today, where we were talking a little bit about George Floyd,
Mhm.
and people's intentions specifically around what was happening. And it's so interesting that you're here again, and we're talking, in the wake of the death of Tyree Nichols in Memphis, Tennessee. So I don't there are no coincidences. And so
Correct.
I'm glad that you're here, and we're going to talk again about intention. So I'll start off. I'll say, how do you define intention?
Well, I could tell you this, we're sitting in it right now, right? We're sitting in fulfilled intention right now because at the end of that last show that I was with you, we said we would meet again. And,
Yes.
the power of what we place into the universal field of consciousness that's always creating, the power of it is when we give that universal consciousness clear intentions, then we're creating consciously all that we desire. So our intentions are our aim, our placing into that field of awareness what we desire, but doing it in a way without any expectation. So they're different than goals. Intentions are very active and they're activated by spirit through us. So it's an aim, a let go, a listening, and then we move our feet into action to land in fulfilled intention over and over again.
Wow, I love that. I love that. I mean, it's so interesting to hear your definition of intention, as opposed to others. I like yours better.
Well, thank you, Brian. But you remember we spoke about this, that this beautiful word is
Yes.
then used so frequently, and I'm so grateful for that. And a lot of times, like many other words we use, in our language, we're using it without truly understanding the depth of what the word means and the power
Right.
of it. My intention was if we could all look at how do we play with intention, how do we create with it, because we're creating anyway. Let's do it consciously.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I know
Mhm.
you love this subject, Teresa, because this is something that you use with your clients as well. So I'm gonna let you ask the next question.
Thank you. So, yes, I was recently listening to something last week about first, we all have these desires within us, but it's not enough just to have the desire. We then have to move into intention. And so when we then moved into intention, which I appreciate everything you've shared, but I feel like some people fall off then. Or how do you stay committed to that intention that, you get to that step and maybe you make a couple steps, but to stay committed to it, I think is the challenge. So how do you, and we've been talking a lot about this, it being January and the beginning of the year. So
Mhm.
it's kind of slid into a couple of our different conversations. So if you could share a little bit about, once you've moved into intention, how could we stay committed to that?
Absolutely, Teresa. Thank you for that. I find that it's our human dilemma is consistency and staying in a pathway that really honors ourselves and everyone we're in life with. Just because, as we know, life gets busy, and the place to stay in intention is always, always, always a practice. It's I find it interesting that professional athletes, in my view, know this. They just consistently practice. Their body depends upon it, their career depends upon it. When we look at our lives, like our lives are honorable, it's an honor to be here and have a body. So if we can know, can I honor my life by staying consistent in practice? Now,
Yeah.
that could be so many things, but with intention, if we have an intention and we know it's to who knows, to say my intention is to honor my body temple and release any excess weight, or my intention is to cultivate deep relationships that are filled with communication, truth, and authenticity, either any intention of the sort. When we have that and we really observe it, meaning I don't care if we put a post-it on the wall, if we look at it in our journal, our actions follow the intention. So every
Mm.
day when we're in the midst of a full life, all we have to do is ask ourselves. Now, this takes seconds. So when people say, I don't have time, I'm like, this takes seconds. We just pause, and that's a practice. Pause, take a breath, another practice, and ask ourselves, is this action in alignment with that intention? If it's not, then we don't do it.
Mm.
If it is, then we move forward. Now, when we start to see that that can be an automatic response through practice, it takes time. I'm not saying it happens overnight. It takes a willingness to practice. And when we start to adjust, that practice does not have to be hard. We must just be willing.
Wow.
Thank
You
you.
know, I'm gonna toss over to Chanel. Did you have a question, Chanel?
Yes, thank you so much. It's so nice to meet. Wondering your thoughts after you're setting the intention of allowing and detaching.
Uh-oh, we lost Chanel, so she'll be back, everybody. Well, I'm gonna follow up with that question. Because I know a lot of people, you know, can be skeptical about intention, like not really believing it because it's like, well, that's just what we're thinking. That's not, it's not the five senses, right? What do you share with those people who may be on the fence, whether or not the power of intention is actually real?
So when we can look at our lives and find areas where we are creating. So if I ask someone, have you ever been thinking about someone and all of a sudden they reach out and call you? And most people say, oh yeah, that's happened to me. Or have you ever thought of something you desired and whether it was a day, month, or later, something showed up and it came to you and they go, oh yeah, that happened to me once. When we start to look at where we're already creating our lives, if we think this is gonna be a hard day, we create a hard day. When I can guide people to see where are you already creating your lives, but maybe unconsciously, and people could see that, then I could guide them towards what if you were consciously setting your intention. Now, Brian, that point you made about like those five senses, when we really aim for intention, it's based on qualities, not outcomes. See, where people I think get hooked, right, is if
Right.
they say,
Yes,
well, I
yes.
wanted that specific outcome. Well, specific outcome leads us to expectation. If I say, and that's going to lead to disappointment, because then we're still trying to control how it happens. Whatever one believes in, the universe, spirit, is unlimited. And it can bring us an outcome that is so much bigger than what we know in our present moment. So if you base intention on qualities, so the qualities of having, say someone says, I need this, a certain amount of money. And if I say, okay, so what are those qualities? What is it going to feel like? What will your life be like? And if they say freedom and peace of mind and knowing my family is cared for, I could move with ease. Those qualities are what we stack into that intention. My intention is to call forth financial abundance, knowing my life is filled with ease and grace and all our needs are met. That's an intention.
Gotcha.
It's not based on by a certain day at a certain time, I have to have a certain amount of money. That's an expectation. That makes sense.
Right. Teresa, you had a question?
Yeah.
Oh no, go ahead. Go up. Sorry. You had one more thought. Go ahead, Kim.
Oh, I was just, I think when, who was about to ask me about something about detachment, the piece where we must learn in intention is that we have to let go of it. So we can't, we must set the intention, let go. Now here's the next piece though. We don't just sit and look at the universe like, please bring this to me. We let go, and then we must listen for divine inspiration of what step to take to fulfill the intention so that it's based in what we desire. So it's very much a co-creation with the universal presence in ourselves. It's nothing to do with expectation, which that's the part we must practice.
Yeah, I was tying into, I think what Chanel was going to ask is about surrendering and and allowing. And so how does that component play into when we're setting the intention in that, you just ended off there saying about now allowing also the universe to play its part by showing signs and symbols of where we have to move. But can we also allow and surrender to the fact that it's also going to have things moving on behalf of us without action? And not, meaning that we don't have to control every piece of this little puzzle, that I can release into the universe and that it can do some things for me, because I'm like, geez, if I'm going to have to do all the steps and wait for guidance every time, this is hard. Like there are just some things that you're like, I need things that are outside of my control to also come into play here. So how does that fall in? Because if I have to wait for guidance for every step, it's too much.
Yes, I hear. So Teresa, let me clarify that. This is why I love conversation so much, and thank you all for having it every morning. Because when we are in conversation, we can clarify. Wait, this is when I say let go. That's surrender and allowing. So that the state of I set my intention. It's clear. It's based in qualities, not outcomes. It's in the present moment, positive language. As I let go, I'm absolutely surrendering to the power within to move through me. So I'm listening, but yes, you bet, Teresa, the universal presence is already moving things into alignment for that to come to us. Perfect example is Brian and I setting 2 years ago, we had an intention to have another conversation that was meaningful. And here it is. Today, we didn't name it's going to be a certain day, a certain time, but we were willing to listen and simultaneously in our allowing and surrendering, watch the universe bring it about at the perfect moment, which requires trust. We don't want to leave that element out. Surrendering and allowing requires a level of trust as well as listening does. So they all work hand in hand.
And I think that's where people get jammed up, right?
About
the law of attraction is that we want it showing up now.
Exactly.
We don't want it showing up in divine timing. We want, and then when it does start showing up in our timeline, then people fall off, and this is not working.
Great. You're
whatever.
Exactly right. You're exactly right. And that's part of our human dilemma. And I speak to this a lot, that we We're in a society that is filled with technology that absolutely helps us. We're using it this morning to be together, right?
Wow.
And at the same time, technology that helps us this is my own thinking on this, has got us a little unconscious of we're expecting things with speed, 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 because here we can ask Siri anything and in seconds we have the answer. So in our lives, we must cultivate the consciousness that holds that intention while the universe co-creates with us to bring it to us, which means often many things have to move out of the way for that intention to be fulfilled. And what are we cultivating for us to be a good receiver to catch it when it comes? If we be interested in, we want to cultivate a consciousness that's ready for that intention to land. So it's patience and trust and faith, and to practice again and again and again.
Wow. Well, speaking of practice, I think we're going to take a quick break. But when we come back, I know these, but I think our audience isn't introduced to them. The 3 power pillars of intention. I want you to talk a little bit about that when we come back. So everybody, we're going to take a quick break and we'll be back in 60 seconds.
Have you ever asked the question, if I was to be anything, what would I be? Regardless of money, regardless of status, beyond popularity and fame, living your passion, feeling your life has purpose. Soulivity is a space to nurture that which lives in all of us. A place where work can become play, and doing what we love creates the dreams of a lifetime.
And welcome back to This Morning with Soulivity. We are joined today with our very special friend, Kim Sandwood TERRANOVA. Hey, Kim.
I'm so happy to be here with all of you.
I know. I'm smiling from ear to ear. This is such an important subject. We don't talk about intention enough. And I think that when we do, just talking about intention puts that energy out there, and it can have a very powerful effect on people's lives. Just talking about it. But there's 3 important points in your book, the power of intention, that you call the power pillars. Can you take us through those real quick?
Absolutely. When we use these 3 pillars to follow writing clear intentions, it really helps us to know that they're on track to create the highest that we're dreaming of. So the first thing is, intentions are always, always based in the present moment. When we remember to write intentions in this moment, that the power to create is right in this moment, not tomorrow or yesterday. So they're always based with the languaging in the present moment. The second one is they're always positive languaging. Now, sometimes people look at me and say, well, Kim, of course we know that. And I say, how often do we unconsciously say, my intention is to not eat that chocolate cake today? Well, it's pointing right at what we don't want. So we must make it always in the languaging that's positive. My intention is to make choices that honor my body. Positive language, present moment. First 2 pillars.
Okay.
The third one is, which I watch and observe and assist people to really embody and practice, is the third pillar, very important. They are based in qualities, not outcomes.
Wow.
The qualities of financial abundance, the qualities of freedom, the qualities of trust, peace, harmony, balance, deep levels of communication, connecting, so that we're not pointing to when in a certain moment we want an exact thing, but we know the qualities of that. So if I ask people, tell me about that. What does that feel like? We're aiming for those qualities because we're vibrational beings. That means the vibration of the qualities of freedom, of peace, of harmony, divine health, wholeness. That vibration of wholeness is going to attract the energetic of it right back to us versus I want to lose 5 pounds or I want to, have surgery in a month. Well, then that prayer would be for healing and wholeness right now. Right now.
Wow.
We must keep it in the present, positive language based in qualities.
I know you made this move, a beautiful move, to the island of Costa Rica.
Mm.
And I want you to kind of talk a little bit about the intentions behind that, because there's an energetic strength that is emanating out of Costa Rica right now. I think it's a very special place. And so can you talk about that journey, that part of your journey where, because you were in California and you went there. So can you talk about that journey?
You bet. Many years ago, I set the intention to be of service. I didn't know how that was going to unfold. I knew I wanted to, this gets me emotional, to be of service to humanity, to participate on a very awakened level. And the question of how can I serve, what's mine to do, what's mine to be in the presence of the present state of the world was very important to me. And my listening, because now I didn't even know that the Rhythmia Life Advancement Center was being developed at that time, but I was on a spiritual path for my entire adult life. And my teacher, Michael Bernard Beckwith, had come to me and said, and I was teaching at Agape University and had full practice in California. And he'd said to me, I want you to go down and we're partnering with a wonderful man, and we're opening a center in Costa Rica to assist humanity to grow and heal. And I want you to go down there and teach the program. And at the time, I came back and forth for the first few years, California, Costa Rica, back and forth. And then, interestingly enough, as you remember, Brian, my home and retreat center was caught in the Southern California fires and burned to the ground in 180. And suddenly then, where I couldn't see, how could I move to Costa Rica? They're asking me to move down there and teach and be the lead teacher full time. All of a sudden, it was like, well, I don't have a place to live. Now I can giggle about it, but it was part of my path of healing. Is the next step was to be here and be teaching full time. And I said yes, because then the path became clear. And so I'm very, very honored that I have, like close to 100 people a week that change every week from all over the world that I get to assist with teaching and assisting their healing, their inner wake up, as well as still lead retreats in different places in the world and speak to different businesses and corporations. So I have the flexibility to travel around and still be here teaching. And it's all fulfilled intention that I asked, I want to be of service. Show me where that will be.
Wow. Yeah, see, that's why I asked that question. I think this goes to part of surrender.
Absolutely.
where our brains are like thinking that can't possibly work, right?
Right.
What do you mean you're gonna move? You've never been to Costa Rica. What's it gonna be like? And all these fears and anxieties start popping up.
And packing up 2 huge bull mastiffs to come with me. That was complete. That was complete intention. Reverend Michael asked me to do an entire sermon on getting, the intention to travel with 2 bull mastiffs to get here on that plane, and I did, and it's all true. But it's every step of the way is intention. So I think that the wonderful thing to continue to I continue to celebrate in my clients' lives, my family's lives, is as we aim with an intention, whether it's to be of service, to heal my body, to assist my children through all that they're in the midst of, to communicate more deeply with my family, to find balance, whatever our intentions are, we are always co-creating. Nothing is too big for the universal field. Nothing.
Wow.
Our minds at times can think, oh, like you just said, Brian, well, how would that be? When we let go of the how, and as Teresa said, let go to, like, we must surrender and simultaneously listen for guidance. So they're all working together. I was listening when I got asked, and the owner of Rhythmia said, Kim, I know this might be a bad time, but your house burned down. And do you think you could move now? It was like, you know what?
Wow.
I'm listening. And you're right. This is actually a good time. So, it activates all of our senses. Actually, we must listen, but we're in surrender and we're still aiming to consciously create. Michael Beckwith says it this way in the foreword of my book, and I love this. He says, in our world right now, there's an intention deficit disorder, meaning we're not activating the power. And why not? Because we each have it. Every single one of us has it. No one's left out here.
Teresa, I feel like this is Sunday and not Monday.
Yes, right. That's true. I needed to listen to this yesterday. Absolutely. We could listen to this every day.
I know, right? Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. I know, Teresa.
Yeah, I love this conversation. Teresa, what? Tell me.
So, Kim, when you talked about pillar number 3, this is something that I've been struggling with. So I agree that we should be focusing on the qualities and embodying the vibration of those qualities. And that, I hear Abraham Hicks talk a lot about being the vibration of the things, let's say, that you want to manifest in your life.
Yes.
The goals and aspirations we have, and to draw these things to you like a magnet, that we are always emitting a signal. We're emitting a radio signal, but we are also a magnet for those things that are of that same vibration. So
yes.
I'm listening to this and I'm like, well, my things aren't showing up. So what station am I tuned to? Like, what vibration? Because I feel pretty good. Like, I would say that I'm vibrating at a pretty good energetic level, that, I am pretty much on this level of light and love and happiness. I'm a happiness life coach. And so I am very conscious of my vibration. And I also see evidence of the things that are in my life that are a match. And I continue to attract more of those things. But, and, I think that's like a lot of the core messaging. But my question is, because I'm a little more deeply steeped into this, my question is, how do I, aside from the things that are coming into my reality, because I also believe, in that I've sowed seeds for things that are going to come up in divine timing when it's right for me.
Yes.
Those seeds are going to blossom, and I'm going to see the fruits of my labor and the fruits of what the universe has in store for me. But how do I measure my vibration in the meantime to ensure that I'm on my high flying disc, aside from waiting for things to come into my reality that show me that measurement, if that's clear?
So I want to make sure the question, how do you said measure how did you say that?
Vibration.
So,
yeah, my vibration.
Yes.
Aside
So
from what I'm attracting.
How do I, okay, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Your practice of connection to source, is that a daily practice?
Yes. Yes.
Great. And as it is a daily practice, in that time, whatever that practice is, prayer, meditation, visioning, whatever yours is, do you feel that connection, that vibration of connection with source?
Yes.
Beautiful. Amplify that. In other words, we don't have to measure our vibration. We get to lean in. We get to, because a measurement, we're still looking for something, Teresa, right? We're
Yes,
still looking.
yes.
So when we lean in, I will say this a lot, is like, and it comes up when I pray, that I hear Spirit praying through me, that I am in a state of surrendered and leaning into the presence, so that that vibratory field leads in my life, but it's moving through me. It's not just Kim, the physical body. That vibration is leading because I'm leaning and letting go.
Right.
I believe surrender is the stance of a spiritual warrior, and I believe it is a beautiful place to be in surrender and activated. So the vibration is that connection of source. And when I'm teaching at times, Teresa, I so desire and call forth that vibration, that I'm interested in listening to that more than anything else. And so that moves through me and things begin to manifest. And when they don't, in my timing, the humanness of Kim, then my commitment is to lean back in and ask the next question. Another practice: what gets to be cultivated in me? What quality gets to be cultivated in me while this comes through me? So that it takes my attention off what's not there and brings me back to something's being cultivated, because I trust Spirit. And I trust Spirit so much that I'm busy about cultivating the consciousness that to know and accept that it absolutely is coming. It's actually sitting right next to you right now, right with you.
Ooh.
And it's that place of, I'm going to catch it. I'm going to catch it. And so that I could also interrupt any sense of doubt when it comes up. There's where my practice goes.
Wow. Woo.
Thank you.
Woo. Woo. I think we need a break on that one. I'm over here sweating like, woo. That's going down deep.
Well, you have me crying on this end, because it was exactly what I needed to hear. Was exactly what I needed to hear.
Holy
so thank
water.
you so much.
That's holy water. That's
Thank
nothing
you.
but holy
Thank
water.
you.
Listen,
Thank you for
I want to
asking
keep,
aloud.
yeah, absolutely. Teresa, thank you for that, because I was feeling that too. I was feeling, because I think we oscillate sometimes, and we're because our normal is that we're always in expectation, right? We're expecting
Yes.
something from the outer to come in and change our life, right?
Mhm.
Well, we're
Yes.
taught that, and it's
Yeah,
acceptable in our.
exactly.
Sorry to interrupt you, but it
No,
just it
no,
is
no.
acceptable in our society. So we must have compassion for ourselves, that we are in a world that's built with expectation. We are here to continue to wake up in it so that we don't slip through it, because we bring our consciousness to it. And so it's a compassion that, oh, yes, I got caught in expectation. What's my practice? The beautiful thing is, the second we see we're caught in expectation, all we have to do for all of us is say, okay, what's my intention? Intentions keep us out of expectation.
You know, we're going to take this break, but when we come back, you said something that I try to remember in my own spiritual practice, and that is cultivating the warrior within, and being that that conscious creator. I want you to tell us a little bit about how you do that in your own life, and then how do you teach others to be spiritual warriors, not fighters, warriors, because there's an important difference. So we'll talk about that when we get back. But everybody will be
Okay.
back in about 60 seconds.
You can find all the Satanic products at our Go shop on Soulivity at go.soulivity.com now. Shop for beauty products, skincare, hair care, it is all there. at the Go Shop. Go shop Soulivity.
And good morning to all of you from around the world. We're back with This Morning with Soulivity and my beautiful co-host, Teresa Greco, and my very special friend and guest, Kim Sandwood Terranova. She's talking today about her wonderful book, The Power of Intention. And we left off where I've heard another spiritual mentor of mine, Iyanla Van Zant, talk about
Love
being
her.
a spiritual warrior, right? And that most of us we try to fight our way through life, but that's not being a warrior. Can you tell us your own uh, definition, take, and the lifestyle that you have around being a spiritual warrior?
Thank you for that. Oh, wow. I believe each of us have come here to stand in our lights, the
Mm.
divine source of all that is, and be, not do, be what we
Mhm.
came here to be. And there's an entire practice about being versus doing. If we could
Yeah.
be first, be, and then move into our to-do list, we are bringing all of our spiritual activation with us, because when we become beers, we're leaning in again to what I mentioned earlier. We're leaning into source energy. Spiritual warrior is being resilient in the face of the circumstances of the world. Spiritual warrior is bringing your beingness to every circumstance that is before each of us individually, as well as all of us collectively. So it means we must be awake. Now, being awake to me is one of the most important things for us to participate in. And I don't mean just our eyes open, I mean our inner eyes open. Spiritual warrior activity is keeping the inner eye of our souls awake to what's occurring, so that as we are bringing our consciousness to every situation, we're bringing an awakened consciousness, not a reactionary consciousness. So when you said the difference between a spiritual fighter and a spiritual warrior, a spiritual fighter is prepared to have reaction lead. A spiritual warrior is bringing powerful presence of response that can change the world. And it takes enormous courage, because again, in our world, we are in a circumstantial world, and we've been taught to react a lot. And reactions aren't always, I would never say reactions are always bad, because reactions can save our lives. And when there are reactions that are coming from an unconscious state, then that reaction can cause a vibration of more harm. So a spiritual warrior is one who's leaning into spirit before every action, not just a state of versus I can do this versus we shall do this, meaning source and I will do this together, and I'm listening to that inner strength that's more powerful than anything before I shift into bringing the fullness of my doing to anything. I'm tapping in first to who am I being.
I'm going to hand this over to Teresa, but I love, 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 love this react. Being, responding to the universe instead of reacting. And I love the thought, because I remember when Iyanla was talking about this, and it goes so seamlessly with what you're talking about, and that is the warrior is strategic, and the battle is already won before it begins.
Beautifully stated.
It's already done. And so
Beautifully
why,
stated.
so you just go into surrender into that, right? Like we were talking about in the last segment about surrendering and letting your expectations go, Teresa, I know you
Yes.
had another question or comment.
Yeah, I've realized through our conversation that I'm not leaning into enough that divine guidance within me, that I should be turning in there first instead of leading with my head, which is, okay, this is where I'm going. This is where I'm headed. These are all the steps that I need to take. Every day I have like different things that I need to do, and I check off, and okay, and I know that I'm always moving forward. But now I'm sitting here in reflection thinking, well, am I moving forward based on the divine plan for me, my higher self's plan, source's plan for me? Am I being guided first by the Holy Spirit, or am I leaning too heavily on my head? So my question then for you is, I believe that that living a life of purpose means that we are living on purpose every single day, where we feel on purpose. We feel that we are doing exactly what we need to be doing at exactly this moment in time with whatever it is, so that we check in with ourselves and say, do I feel good in this moment? That our feelings is that compass that helps to direct us. That if we're feeling happy, we're feeling good, then we're on purpose. We're doing exactly what we're supposed to be doing. But when we meet some resistance emotionally, where we start to feel tired and drained and frustrated because maybe things aren't coming along as they should, or we're meeting many roadblocks and things don't seem to be working out, that those are also indicators that we're not in alignment with the truth and path that we came here to live. And so I'm thinking now that I feel mostly happy on my path while I'm doing all of these things, but I'm leaning too heavily on my brain, because I'm not checking in enough to say, well, Teresa, when you're trying to do these things, are you being guided by spirit first, or is it outside expectations? I said, Teresa, to grow your Instagram, you have to post 6 to 7 times a day. And in order to, get more followers, you have to do a live video all the time. And you have to have this, and there's like this whole checklist of things that people tell you that you need to be, in order for you to be successful, and in order for you to get your message across, you need to be doing all these things. So that's where the mind kicks in, because my mind's like, okay, Teresa, you need to do this, this, and this. And then now I'm like listening to you today, and I'm like, oh no, like rein in the horses here, Teresa, because you're being guided too much by the external and not enough by the internal. So if you could share some comments about that, that would be so helpful.
Absolutely. And clearly, Teresa, just by your descriptive, I want to acknowledge just your pathway of watching your vision to be fulfilled, that you've been moving into full motion every day. I could hear it as you're talking. And when we begin to allow our head to melt into our heart, that we meet in the middle. Like, it's not that we are to be led solely by our head or solely by our heart. It's we meet in the middle. Really, a life lesson, if we look at it that way, is that when we come into balance and know, okay, my head is telling me I've got this big to-do list and I need to get it done, right? And we must honor as well that, we're being efficient, we are aiming. Now, when we first go to our being place, first and foremost, that we don't move into that doingness until we lean into spirit, what happens is that to-do list gets done with more ease and grace and power than we've ever known. That when we first are still, so it's melting the two, it's not one or the other, it's melting the two, meeting in the middle and starting with our prayer, with our meditation, connecting with source and seeing, I'm bringing this vibration of oneness to my to-do list. Miracles occur on that to-do list, and someone picks up one and another one falls away. Now, I want to talk about that place of resistance when something comes up and we think, whoa, I'm getting resistance, that what I desire isn't happening. There's also beautiful messaging in that, which is when resistance or something comes up, we get to go to our practice in the middle of something that appears to be not working. We must practice. So we bring our prayers, our practices into that. And I regularly, my teacher brought this to me years ago, and I still use it with all my clients today, that is the moment when resistance is present, that I go within and ask the question, what is growing, what must grow in me right now? So if I'm facing challenge, because all the feelings, emotions get to be honored. And if I'm joyous one minute and all of a sudden, I just felt a wave of grief and sadness, or a block that this certain pathway hasn't come to me yet, then I get to bring to the situation, what must grow in me? What is my growing edge right now? And it could be compassion, it could be gentleness, so that I lean back into source again, Teresa, to that place of, okay, I'm leaning in spirit. What's my growing edge? And I listen. I ask the question, I listen. And if it is, Kim, just be gentle with yourself, or flexibility, or be patient, then I bring that to my intention, and to add flexibility, patience, to know that spirit has heard my call. Spirit's heard it. And what am I to cultivate while it gets here? That answer gets to me. What has to be moved for that to get to me? Where it's appearing as resistance, but instead of me doubting it, I'm going to lean in again in the center of it. Does that make sense?
Yes. So thank you so much for the reminder. Thank you. And this is what we need, is these constant reminders to keep us on path. So I'm so appreciative
Yes.
of our conversation this morning, because it's absolutely what I needed to hear. It's, some of the questions that I've had, and I hope that some of our listeners have had some of those same questions. But it is definitely hitting the spot today. So thank you so much.
Well,
Thank you.
it's really beautiful to see intention and spirit and beingness in action, right? Because as you guys were talking about those moments where we do move into a level of fear, may it manifest itself as anxiety or worry or concern, that the old scripture of peace, be still, applies, where you go into that beingness of stillness, even in that moment, to understand at a higher level what's going on with me, what's coming up for me, because the answer is always going to be for my best and highest good. Always, 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 always. So thank you for that,
Yes.
that beautiful reminder. Listen, everybody, we're going to take another quick break. And when we come back, I'm going to ask him about just some regular everyday tips that we can use to stay and use the power of intention in our lives. So we'll be back in about 60 seconds.
6 years ago, when I started Soulivity, my vision was to support everyone in improving their life through the discovery of their passion and purpose, so they could become the best version of themselves, to battle fear and ignorance, and create a better world today. Get inspired to live your passion and purpose. Visit Soulivity.com now.
Hi there, Sheila Applegate here with some exciting news. I've joined the incredible Soulivity team as the host of the new Consciously Awesome live show, where I will be sharing insights to help you discover your full brilliance and claim the vibrant life you deserve. So tune in every Wednesday right here on Soulivity TV to join the fun, and remember to subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss a single episode. Have an awesome week, and I will see you on Wednesday.
And we are back with more this morning with Soulivity with our beautiful and soulful guest, Kim with TERRANOVA. She's the author of The Power of Intention. And Kim, you were going to give us some tips that we can use every single day to stay grounded in our power, right? In this power of intention to create the best life that we want to live today. So what are some tips you can give us?
Oh my goodness. Can we talk for a couple hours, please? Because, practices, I love what you're saying. Tips to me are practices. And there's so many. Sometimes, when I have a whiteboard, I'll be writing them on the board when I'm teaching. And I fill the whole board, because tips are anything that gets each of us centered again. So I'll say to people, what gets you back to center? So it could be hiking. That could be, that could be it could be taking a deep breath. But in the moment of a full life, if we would honor ourselves by truly just that, taking a huge deep breath wherever we're at, it interrupts the pattern of expectation or looking outside of ourselves at circumstances. So daily taking huge deep breaths in the midst of conversations before you have a conversation, going outside as often as possible, grounding your feet to the earth, connecting. Before we had this show, it was 5:30 in the morning here. I was outside.
Wow.
Standing with my feet in the earth, blessing the trees, blessing our conversation today. For myself, I don't start any interaction without a prayer and an intention. So we can set intentions. That's a super simple, wonderful practice before you walk into a meeting, before you pick up a phone. Pause. Another practice. This is like 5 or 6 of these coming out right there. Like just pause. The power of a pause before we pick up our technology to react to someone's text or to call someone. Just to pause and say, what is my intention before I send this? And if we know my intention is to be clear and authentic and honest, and then review what you just texted before you push send. I mean, there's so many opportunities to set an intention, be present with a pause, take a breath, ground our energy, prayer before we walk into a situation. That's just a few. And then one, I'm going to really encourage, this is in one of the last chapters in my book, but anyone who isn't writing an acknowledgement journal yet, I completely invite everyone to. The power of acknowledgement, that we can start to see ourselves rightly. Every day, have your journal, open it up. Today I acknowledge myself for kind, gentle acts. This is just for you, that you can see where you have grown. It could be simple as I acknowledge myself for taking a breath before I had a conversation with my children today. I acknowledge myself that I paused before I walked into that business meeting and surrendered to listening to my inner voice. I acknowledge myself that I got up and did my practice for 5 minutes today before I started my day. Anything. Well, what happens with an acknowledgement journal is we start to build a field to be better receivers. If we could see ourselves rightly, we become better receivers. We set our intention, and then we are ready when the intention comes to us to receive it. And I'm giving you a super short version of the acknowledgement journal, but it's very important and powerful.
Woo.
Brian, do you see why I'd like a few hours to talk about tips and practices?
You're coming back. You know that, right?
I can't wait.
Yeah, you're coming back. Because I cannot stress to our audience more that this commitment to pure intention, starting with being grounded in the river of the universe, this universal power and guidance every single day, will change your life.
Yes.
It is really, really, really that simple. And the most powerful things are. And so just thank you, Kim. Woo.
Thank you, all of you. I'm so happy to be here. So honored. And I love conversations. When we could bring our full awareness to every conversation, things happen in life and shift. And all of you are doing that. And I'm so grateful to you. So thank you for having the conversation and with me.
Yeah. And, and everybody, this is not something where we're just talking high level, aesthetics of spirituality and all that. I mean, as a global consciousness, all of us need to be able to be grounded in that sense and change the change that you want to see. You have to be the change, and that's intention, where you're literally being the change that you want to see in your life and in your world. And so when people come together, it just multiplies by multitudes.
Mhm.
And Teresa, you had something that you wanted to ask. We got a little bit of time, but go ahead.
So it's a combination of a question and comment. What I loved about all of the little tips that you shared is that they're very simple things, right? Take a
Right.
Yes.
breath, pause, but
Yeah.
it's same thing with showing gratitude, like all day, just thank you,
Yes.
thank you for for that. Listening to Louise Hay in a lot of her work, it's the same thing, just like thank you
Yes.
for my computer for working, thank you for my phone for
Yes.
being charged, thank you for my car that's working today and allows me to get to where I have to be. It's not just thanking for all the good things, but even thankful for all the inanimate objects too that we have. Thank you for the electricity that's in my house. Thank you for the clean water.
Mhm.
Thank you. Like, it literally, we could be saying thank you all day long, right? But and no,
Absolutely.
we don't have to have a specific time to practice gratitude at the end of of our day in a journal. And same thing with your
Mhm.
acknowledgement one. So it kind of ties into the question that I wanted to ask, is that do we don't really need to, and we shouldn't be setting a specific time at the end or beginning of the day to try to be very intentional about looking for
Mhm.
all the things that we should be grateful for, but rather it just comes naturally. And the more that we do it, just
Mhm.
comes a habit, and how we just live from that place all day long. So
Mhm.
how can we take that acknowledgement journal that you said and just doing it all day long, instead of leaving it for the end of the day, where we write it down and we think about all the times that we were kind to ourselves and pumping ourselves
Absolutely.
up. We should be pumping ourselves up all day long. So
Yeah,
how do
I
we
agree
get
with
that
you.
to be something we do as a habit all day?
So great, great, great insight. And often, and each of us are individual in this,
Mhm.
often certain people, individuals grow from a solid practice that then stretches into their days.
Mhm.
This practice to you and I right now, we know, oh, we could do that. There's some people, when I bring this up, literally look at me like, what are you talking about? I can't acknowledge myself. That is too hard. I gotta keep telling myself I'm not doing enough. So even if we start at the end of the day to write, and then start to can see from the eyes of acknowledgement, you bet I would love everyone to be acknowledging ourselves during the day, to know, I did the best I could in that meeting. Let me just acknowledge myself while I walk to the car. So I'm in agreement with you. Every moment we can to acknowledge ourselves, and sometimes to get the pattern ignited, I guess is a way to say it, is that when we have a certain time, until it becomes the norm that it's happening all the time. Does that make sense?
Yes. Thank you.
Mm.
So it's and another thing with acknowledgement is we get to acknowledge everyone we walk this path with. When I have couples counseling, I'll say to the couple, can you please acknowledge each other for something today? And it's amazing when someone pauses and thinks, wow, I haven't acknowledged you for putting the dogs out today when I was too tired to do it, or I didn't acknowledge you fixing dinner when I was late. When we really are children, we look at our children and say, oh, I just want to acknowledge you. I saw you made your bed this morning. I'm so grateful for that. I mean, we
Beautiful.
get to acknowledge each other as well as ourselves. And what happens then is we're back in the present moment, because we're seeing clearly instead of an expectation.
Wow,
Brian, we're
beautiful.
diving into that on another show. Acknowledgement. Oh, wow. That was so powerful. I love that idea of not
Uh,
just like ourselves, but of each other and those people that are dear to us. Just, we're more apt
Yes.
to criticize and be negative, right? Talk about all the bad things that are going on than to acknowledge all the good things. And so those examples that you share were so beautiful. So
right.
I hope people can even just take that away with them this morning. Thank you.
Absolutely. And
Absolutely. Thank you
the
for
b-
the question.
yeah, and the book is The Technology of Intention, Activating the Power of the Universe Within You. And we love that you were here with us, Kim Sandwood, Terranova. You have a very special intensive retreat coming up in February. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Ooh, in
Ooh.
10 days, and I still have a couple spots left. I teach an intensive about and co-creating our lives, and it's wonderful to watch people come really take the conversation we're having into days of depth and really go away with a clear idea of how to co-create their lives and the tools and the pathway to do it. And the next one is in Costa Rica, coming on February 8th, from the 8th to the 12th. And I bring in a wonderful breath teacher, a transformational breath teacher to help heal as well. I'm teaching that she brings up a path of healing. And we have a beautiful holistic doctor doing treatments this year. And we'll be at the beach saying prayers. So it's going to be profound.
Wow.
And if you're ready to shift to living a life of intention, just reach out to me because I've got a couple seats still left.
So you can join Kim Sandwood TERRANOVA for her Costa Rican Intention Intensive Retreat 2023. Remember, you can email her at kim@kimsandwoodterranova to reserve your spot, actually, because it's only 10 days away. Kim, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Again, you're going to be back.
So on.
Yes, be back.
Okay, I can't. Just hear me. I've already said yes. I am so ready and willing to have all these conversations with all of you. And thank you for having me.
In fact, we'll do it from there in Costa Rica.
Yes, please, Brian.
Let's do it. Okay, wait. I think I just heard an intention. I think we're just putting it into the universal consciousness that's occurring here in Costa Rica. And we all just said yes.
In fact, I'm going to be asking you about some things.
Yes.
Listen,
Okay.
everybody, please follow us on social media so you can enjoy great programming like this show with Kim Sandwood TERRANOVA and a lot others. You can even catch our show last week with Helene Lerner, the founder of womensworking.com, and so many more beautiful souls. Just go to our website at soulivity.com/this-morning or any of the social media platforms listed here. Listen, on behalf of all of us, I want to say thank you again for joining us for another great episode of This Morning with Soulivity. We hope that you come back and join us every weekday at 8 a.m. Eastern, or listen to the rebroadcast, which is coming up at 11 a.m., specifically for all of you out on the West Coast, because we want to make sure you got some love too. Well, until next time, keep having real conversations that empower you with passion and purpose and create a life full of high quality living today. We'll see you next time. Bye.
This work is subject to copyright owned by Affinity Global LLC. Any reproduction or republication of all or part of this is expressly prohibited unless Affinity Global LLC has explicitly granted its prior written consent. All other rights reserved.